freestyle this whole shit right now. Yeah.
Quick introduction if you can.
Yes. My name's FINGY. I'm a producer, DJ, vocalist, sonic creator of sorts.
Alright. Let's see which version of UBC tonight.
We're gonna do kind of both. We're doing slight DJing, slight production, and doing my best to try to meld the two.
When did you start DJing?
I started DJing, well, I got a turntable in the 9th grade, but I didn't understand how it worked, so then I stopped. So I was like 14, and then I picked it back up DJing at the very beginning of 2020, end of 2019.
How hard was it to convince your parents to get you a deck?
They didn't, I bought it myself. But I took my mom took me to Guitar Center, and I was interested in it, and I got the super marked down Typhoon controller for like $70, and at the time I was watering plants for like $20 a water from my neighbors.
Self-made.
Yeah, with a lot of help as well.
Alright, I'm gonna pretend like I don't know this already, but
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles, California, baby.
So how was that move from Southern California all the way out here to the cold?
It was smooth, honestly. I think I moved during, my first winter was the polar vortex. So my first winter was like, just shocked my system and made everything else quite bearable. So it wasn't too tough.
Did you find that the winter was like a pretty good creative point in your like yearly production schedule?
Honestly, I feel like winter break has usually been where I stop creating and I rest. But it's also been because I've been flying back home and just spending time with my family and friends. But I think as of recent, at least these past 2 years, it's been incredibly helpful with the creation process.
I know you've been traveling a lot lately, and something that came up when I was thinking about your project, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Did all the songs come about in Chicago, or was this something that you were like piecing together as you were traveling?
That's a good question. I have to think about them all. Sound bath in my room. Broke the bank in my room. ADHD school in my backyard. Neck hair started at Classic Recording Studios in like 2019 with Still in Chicago and Bedroom and TikTok. I Mess Up in my room. Easy. That started in Boston, Massachusetts, visiting my friend Mackenzie, who's singing on it at Emerson. And then I Adore You, also in my bedroom, Chicago.
Interesting. So, wow, this goes like way back. I did not expect it to be that old of a project.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the project?
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of covers approximately 2.5 years of my older adolescence, early adulthood, and it's been the first project where I've given enough time to allow primitive, creative premonitions to have enough time to manifest in my life while I'm still making it to continue to process that in real time. So it's a project that does a pretty good and concise job at capturing my subconscious state and emotional state over these past 2.5 years. I'd say from about the beginning of 2022 to the beginning of 2024.
Interesting. Like, the first time you played it for me, like, whenever you came over that one time, like, a year and a half ago, it sounded so intentional. Like, it sounded like there was such a good through line that I put it all together that I would have never guessed that it took, like a few years to piece it together. Especially the first track, like, Sound Bath. Like, I don't know, I remember the first time I listened to it, it was very much like I felt like I was walking into a space. And I don't know if that was something you were thinking about, like, actually creating a space rather than just, like, being sound.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was like very like church-like in my head.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you want to talk a little bit about the writing process for that track?
Yeah, well, that track and I Mess Up are very similar in the sense that they were both done in one night, in one moment. And it was funny because Broke the Bank had been something that I made and then returned to 6 months later and then decided to build out. And similar to Broke the Bank, a lot of other tracks, like I Adore You, which you saved the day in, the guitar shredder, those tracks took so much time and so much revisiting, whereas Sound Bath and I Mess Up were just moments in my room where I felt something, I tried something, and it worked. And Sound Bath was amazing because I just had this, I had this synth VST pulled up, and I put some processing on it, and in one moment, and I don't play the piano, but I can have some muscle memory to figure out certain chords and shapes, and that was one take where I just randomly placed my fingers on the keys, and it made beautiful sound, which literally almost never happens, on accident, and that was on accident, and I just held it out, and then I knew immediately, I was like, this needs to set the tone for Broke the Bank, and that all happened in like maybe 30 minutes.
That's crazy because it really does. Like I said, I felt like I walked into some space and then I'm like hanging out for the duration of the project in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Even the vocal stacks that you did with CC on Broke the Bank, like, it felt like I was in a church. You know, very churchy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That was a really cool moment. I remember the speakers were just blasting.
Mm-hmm.
Then the transition into this more like dance stuff. Like, how did you think about that as being like where it was gonna go after you had those first tracks?
No, as it was kind of coming together, I was having a rough idea of how I wanted it to flow, and Neck Hair was tough because it is different from the rest of the tracks, whereas it is really the only like dancey track. Yeah. So I needed to figure out a way to make that flow, and it's always, you know, easy to do a little voice memo moment and have that work, and I was intentional with that voice memo as well within what I chose specifically and how it like adds to the project's theme. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with Neck Hair, I was like, there needs to be a breathing moment before it, because no matter what goes into it, it's not gonna flow. Yeah. Yeah. But
that's interesting. I don't know. At what point do you feel like you have this collection of songs and this is your project? You know, you make music, you're just sitting down at night making whatever. Mm-hmm. You like what you're making, but you don't know that there's like
something behind it.
Yeah, something that's cooking all together.
Yeah.
At what point did it become clear that, okay, I have to put this all together?
Maybe. I don't have a hard date in mind, but it would have probably had to be around the end of summer 2023. I think I was working on a bunch of things for a while, and I think it was when I started I Adore You, and it was really not that much was there, but I knew from the wind up of it and the lyricism of it, I was like, this is saying something that I know is reminiscent of a lot of things I've been trying to say, but this finally does it. So when I made that, I knew that it was significant enough that it would help be a major narrator in a larger project. And then I started looking back and saying, okay, what works with that? And it was, you know, the music I had been working on up until that point.
When did you know it was finished? Because I know we spent like 10 hours out one day.
Yeah. That was like the last, it was what, February?
Yeah.
2024.
Was that like the last?
That was the end. Like that, like I had everything ready, except for maybe final mix tweaks by January 2020. And then I recorded the drums on I Adore You in Los Angeles in the musical directors of the Eagles recording studio, because my friend was randomly house sitting, just dumb LA shit, and recorded the drums, had everything ready, but knew I needed I Adore You to come to something. And then I talked to you, I was like, you're the person for this, and we did that session at your house, we did the session in Audio Tree's studio, and then we mixed it there. I did final tweaks after that session in February, and then did the final mixing touches in Audio Tree mid-February. and then I was rushing because I had a friend's birthday party, and I bought a mini Prosecco, and I was like, I'm gonna drink this Prosecco when the mixing is done, and I have to finish soon because it's my friend's birthday party, or birthday dinner, and I did the last tweaks, I listened through it, I was like, it's done, popped Prosecco, went to Club Lucky for dinner.
The crazy thing is that it took us longer to figure out how to fucking track the guitars than actually
Bro, passing signal through that SSL console, it was one of my greatest life's achievements.
Yeah, no, that was quite the day.
Oh.
But where do you think you're gonna take your music now? Now that we've seen this project.
I'm gonna take it, hopefully, to the people that need it. You know, I'm trying to do more allowing opportunities to come to me rather than pushing for them. Come in. Hello.
It's me.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have you guys start packing up here in a moment.
Okay. No worries.
Thank you.
Should we switch on something else?
Yeah, I mean, we can go anywhere.
Yeah. Like, we're gonna do deep dish before, and I'm like, you
I'm
don't
done.
want to
Can't
do
do
that.
that.
They don't
Mine's ready
listen.
for
They
you.
get hurt. They get hurt.
How did it feel to let other people touch something that I know is like crazy vulnerable for you? Like, not just the subject matter, but the
Yeah.
fact that it's like your art, you know?
Yeah, it felt really liberating. For the longest time, I have not collaborated because I haven't had people in my life that I trusted with my art, and I also had a bit too much of a control complex on it. But over that span of time, I met some of the most amazing people and musicians ever. So it all came naturally through us being friends and wanting to do something with our time, and to have their, input on the project be so profound and a nature in which I couldn't replicate by myself. I felt so grateful because it truly, literally would not be the same thing without them.
So how did you, for example, with all the vocalists, how did that go? Was it just you had the track and like do whatever you want? Or did you have like a direction that you wanted them to go in?
Every time is different because every vocalist is different. So like Neck Hair was something that I wrote and sang, but then didn't like my vocal delivery and wanted more of a jazzy delivery, and met someone on TikTok by Mads, and they're just super talented, and I hit them up like, hey, I have this track, do you want to sing on it? And you can change it if you want to. And they're like, okay, and they did it and sent it back, and it was amazing. Whereas like Broke the Bank was just a one day of sitting down with Cece and fleshing out demos and ideas and comping our vocals, and then just letting that sit for half a year and then coming back and then reanimating it through the arrangement.
No, just like from personal experience with that, it was really cool to just have you come over and be like, all right, let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
You just kind of had like the structure, but the parts weren't like all there yet. It was really fun to be like, kind of really involved with that.
Yeah.
I'd never really had that sort of experience with somebody just, all right, just play whatever you want.
Right.
Especially having the project start with such a, ambient, like very soundscape, to ending with like shreddy guitar. It was just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
insane.
really cool that collaboration
Yeah,
led
man.
to that.
Yeah.
But talking about your production, what are you producing?
Currently, I'm working on a mixtape. It's called Club Etiquette, and it's quite literally a mixtape. I'm taking a lot of samples from arguably some of the greatest dance tracks ever, cross-genre, and taking the best elements of those and putting them together to make these mashup tracks. Because when I make music, it's more songs, and when I DJ, I'm playing other people's tracks, and I really wanted to be able to play my own music. And tonight I'm playing Soundbath because it's calling for it, but any DJ set, that's never gonna happen. So right now I'm working on that, and also slowly releasing all the music videos we made for the project, starting with Broke the Bank on Wednesday.
Where can we find them?
YouTube, Instagram.
At FINGY.
Oh shit, true. YouTube? I don't know. Yes, at FINGY. Well, on YouTube, I guess it would just be FINGY. And then all my social media is at FINGY is me. I don't have X because fuck Elon Musk. Right.
But in terms of your production, are you still working Ableton, or are you like hopping around between?
Yeah,
DAWs?
I'm locked in on Ableton. I learned a bit of Pro Tools in my higher education, but not multi-tracking like that, so it's fine. I'm on Ableton, and I'm also trying to like bring it back to how I started by creating music that is not really questioned or overthought, and just trying to go off of straight feeling and limiting myself to like 1 to 3 sessions per song. So this year I'm really production-wise returning to how I started.
And in terms of hardware, are you using any instruments when you're producing? Are you using keyboards, or are you strictly just sticking to what Ableton has?
I have instruments at my disposal, but I'm a computer producer at its core, so I'm pulling, well, especially for this project, I'm pulling samples from other songs, and I'm using my splice samples and some of the original drum packs my brother gave me to start producing in the first place. And sometimes I'll hop on a synth, but even so, I'll use a MIDI keyboard most of the times, and I'll use a MIDI keyboard sometimes, and it's mostly through some VST I have in Ableton.
I only ask that because I feel like a lot of people have this idea that you need shit to start making music, but really just having an idea and poking around can lead to some pretty cool music.
Low key, the less the better, man.
Exactly.
A lot of creatives I talked to, upon entering more resource that they've had before, the more and more they start to realize, like, actually, the less time I have, the less instruments I have, the more I'm able to, push something out.
Last question to this fucking poll. So
Yeah.
if you could play anywhere, it could be venue or city, where would you play? It's like, what's somewhere that you want to play this year, if you could?
Ibiza, bro. Like, I don't know why, but like, I have this image in my brain when I ever think about being like a DJ at my peak, and I'm doing a daytime set, palm trees, beach, people are in flip-flops, and it's like, it's foreign, and I'm in a crowd that thoroughly appreciates and holds infrastructure for the DJ industry. So fuck it, Ibiza.
So we gotta make that happen.
Gotta make that fucking
All right,
happen, bro.
Matt. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
You can find her. FINGY is me everywhere.
And love yourself. Yeah. That's what I do. Thank you.